Okay, so the strategic game is more the one-shot game, right? And which that each player choosing his action once for all simultaneously. And we also see the repeated game where you've got these two players repeatedly play the same game multiple times. Now we're talking about the extensive form games instead. They have a multiple stage game. For that stage game, that might have a different payoff functions. So in other words, it's not the same game repeated many times game. But the condition is that they would observe the action for the all periods histories, and then we could create some kind of a game trees to model that. So here is the example that you got two players, right? And you're starting with one of the player and decide whether they want in the market or not in the market. And then once this decide whether in the market, the second player decide condition on the play from the player one to decide whether they want to fight each other or sort of they want to work together. So they got A and F. And once this finished, then you got the result of the game, which is written like the first one is two is a payoff for agent one, and this is with reward for agent two. And so same case. In this case is that once this agent one out, no matter what agent two play, you're gonna have the result like this. You're gonna get payoff function like this. So using tree can nicely present an incentive form game. And so these we consider the perfect information. In other words, that all the history actions we're going to take into account once this agent plus to make a decision. For example, here, if this player two started to make a decision on this one, go to here, he would obviously observe this played one's play, whether they did this or did that. If they did this, they would take action or either of them. If they did that, they would. So basically, the agent two would depend on agent one's action. They will play action. So this is sort of perfect information. In other words, that we should assume that they know the action. But also, you can think about this that is we break this homogeneous assumption of the agents when they play. So, for example, here is that maybe player one has a first move advantage because they will start first. Maybe player two can have observation about player one, therefore can make a best response. So I think that would break this symmetry between them. And so this is sort of definition, and is that as I said that you would have a set of players and you have a history, and history is dependent on all these sort of sequences of action they made, and based on that, then you would have a action. You would have a in each of the stage, then they will play the stage game. The stage game is really devised, a set of actions and also the payoff function. And so this is sort of the definition of this pure strategy case, right? You can define what do we mean by, set of actions that is action available for you. And come on, when I change, always change back. I don't know, no idea. And also, then it depends on, history. Then I could also have this, this strategy is basically defined is that I would, given this history, I could make some sort of action. The action also depends on, previous play you have, right? Because of the tree. If you you pay off change, you play with the change as well. And then based on that, you can do the iteration until end. So this is sort of a definition but just looking at it is an example. So here is that you have player one's strategy. Okay, player one's strategy is that in the very beginning, there's no history. Okay, but I'm gonna choosing either C or D. Player two's strategy is that I have some dependency on my action. I will depend on what? I will depend on whether it's C, set C, or set D. Depending on the situation, I would decide my possible strategy. Think about the strategy. It's slightly confusing, but I think it's very important is that you have a strategy we call it EG, right? Basically, it's a combination of the action you take here and the combination of action you take there, because these two are all in part of your strategy space. It's just that when you're taking this say, only E makes sense. The G doesn't make any function at all. But in terms of your action space for that strategy, is actually E, G, E, H, F, G, F, H. What this means is that okay, I think yes. What this means is that I think I'm going to write it down here. Is this is E or G? Sorry, E or F. This is your strategy space. E or F and G or H. Would that make sense? Because you try to describe the structure when this agent 2 in here now, right? Agent 2 in here now. And when agent 2 in here, and what they can take is basically you can take either EF, right? And or GH, depending on the action from player 2. So if you write the stage game for player 2 that actually player 2 play is this, right? Either you play this, and depending on that, I would do that. I have 3 strategies. So that's the way to sort of describe this. So slightly complicated. So you can find a way. So this is stage game, but you can find a way to actually expand the extensive form to normal form. So how can I extend it? Is that in fact the player 1, okay, only have 2 decisions. Pure actions. But player 2, think about that, and they would have 4, because LR is that LR means left if one move left, right if one move right. So you could actually have 4 kind of combination. By doing this, you could write it down as extending to the normal form game. So in this normal form game, and in fact they have infinitely many fixed strategy equilibria. So it's not saying that when you convert to the normal form game, I convert this here, and you would have sort of a equivalency in terms of this equilibrium, or in terms of the set of equilibria. It's not. So I think we'll talk about that when we introduce a concept later. But just want to see if you convert to this sort of a normal form game, would all this equilibrium make sense or not? So let's say convert to that. You will see accommodation, fried, in, out. And you basically, in this case, you've got these 2 equilibria, which is sort of in A, right? In basically this one, and Alt F, Alt, but also F, Alt F is a equilibrium. The reason, okay, the reason this is out, the reason this one is also equilibrium is because of the player one. They have a bit of worry about the player two gonna play F, okay, and therefore they will get a 0-0. Because they got a 0-0, obviously this is not good as this, so they would rather play this. But the problem of this is that player two, when they reach to here, if you're looking at this, if they are rational, they were never gonna play F, because A would always better off than F, because if you compare this reward for them, this one is always, you know, larger than 0, therefore they always play. So this is never gonna be a, you know, a punishment at all. So that makes this sort of a not necessarily reasonable. So that's why introduce the so-called subgame perfect equilibrium, is that we can divide all these games into subgames, into set of subgames, and we make sure that equilibrium also is equilibrium in all these games, and we call this equilibrium as subgame perfect equilibrium. By doing this, we can actually get rid of this unreasonable, you know, equilibrium. So the subgame is that example of that is that when you have here, you have this subgame when you're starting from this. So any of the game node, you would have, you know, one of these games. So you can basically say, loosely speaking, is that once you find the subgame, I'm using subgame prediction to remove this non-credible threat. So as I explained, that Alt F is not a subgame perfect equilibrium, therefore you can actually remove this. How you can actually find this, right? You can actually find all this equilibrium. You can actually using the so-called backward induction, because backward induction, it can actually help you to, you know, find these initially remove some of the branches which is not you know, credible. So to see how we can do this is that let's start with the trees root. Sorry, looking at these two cases, right? And you can find that actually this is I would always choosing this. I would always choosing this because it is, from a player two perspective, the 4 is higher than, you know, 3. From player one's perspective, 1 is always higher than this. Therefore, I'm always choosing this. Therefore, I'm gonna actually get rid of this 2. So once you got that, you can actually say, based on this, okay, based on this, I'm gonna look at this. I'll compare this 2. I'll compare this 2. From player 2's perspective, right? And whether I will, you know, better off or not. In this case, this will be better off, and this will be my choice. I'm gonna, you know, put in this. And then once you have this, obviously you compare which one would be the one that you would rather. When you compare these two, you will actually draw conclusion. This is your better one. So you can use the backward induction, but if you have a multiple equilibria, it might be a problem, right? Then you may not able to figure out. So I try to say that in this case it's okay, but let's say if equally probable, right? Equally probable that you can either choosing this or choosing that, then you would, you know, change different. So it really depends on cases. Some of them are not necessarily you know, workable.